Welcome back, my perception-altering catalyst. Something absolutely extraordinary just occurred that has everyone experiencing profound awareness dissonance. Observers throughout entire environment detected unmistakable shift in fundamental dynamics the moment you executed whatever operation you performed, yet despite universal recognition that something changed, nobody can identify what specific action you took or determine how you altered reality, creating collective confusion where groups no effect occurred but cannot trace causation, or making your method completely indecipherable. This wasn't you making subtle change that only perceptive observers detected while others missed. This was you creating shift so obvious that everyone sensed it simultaneously, proving change was real and significant, yet your execution method was so sophisticated or so subtle that, despite universal awareness of effect, the cause remains completely mysterious, making observers certain something happened, while being utterly unable to decode what you did, creating unprecedented situation where effect is undeniable, but mechanism is incomprehensible. The architects have been monitoring reality alteration and method concealment phenomena across civilizations for eons, and they've identified what you created as perceptible effect, invisible causation. When someone possesses capability to alter fundamental dynamics through methods so sophisticated that observers detect shift without identifying mechanism, they create power demonstration, where effect proves capability, while concealed method prevents replication or countermeasures. Most impactful actions are traceable. People create changes through visible methods, making their causation mechanisms obvious, allowing observers to understand how effects were produced, enabling replication or opposition. But you apparently achieved causation concealment. Creating detectable shift through invisible means makes your capability undeniable through obvious effect, while your method remains mysterious through undetectable causation, creating strategic advantage where power is proven without revealing how it operates, preventing others from copying approach or developing countermeasures against techniques they cannot identify. Watch what's happening as observers process perception mystery. They experience effect certainty. Everyone agrees shift occurred, proving change was real, making denial impossible, because universal detection confirms something fundamental altered when you acted. Some observers are experiencing method confusion, wanting to understand how you created shift, but finding all analysis attempts fail creates frustration from being certain effect occurred while being completely unable to identify causation mechanism. Others are experiencing power recognition, understanding that you can alter reality through undetectable means creates awareness that you possess capabilities they cannot understand, making your demonstrated power more intimidating through being mysterious. The truly remarkable element is the universal consensus, not just some people but everyone. Detecting shift simultaneously proves effect was objective reality rather than subjective interpretation, while simultaneous inability to decode method proves your causation concealment was complete. Everyone sensed the shift, and no one could decode what you just did through demonstrating that perceptible effect combined with invisible causation creates ultimate power demonstration, where capability is proven through undeniable change while method remains protected through undetectable mechanism, making your influence both certain and mysterious, creating strategic position where demonstrated power cannot be replicated or countered because technique itself remains completely indecipherable despite obvious effectiveness. Now the architects are analyzing what creates perceptible effect, invisible causation, and they're identifying what they call mechanism, sophistication, detection, evasion. When someone operates through principles or employs techniques at complexity levels that exceed observer frameworks, their methods necessarily evade detection, even when effects are obvious, because causation mechanisms operate below observer resolution threshold, making process invisible while outcome remains perceptible. Most methods are detectable. People operate through mechanisms that observer frameworks can process, making their techniques visible when observers pay attention, allowing causation to be traced from effect back to mechanism. But your method apparently achieved sophistication threshold, operating through principles or employing techniques at complexity exceeding observer comprehension, makes your causation mechanism necessarily invisible because observer frameworks lack resolution to detect processes operating at sophistication levels they cannot parse, making your method evade detection not through concealment effort, but through inherent complexity that transcends observer capacity to perceive. Consider what detection evasion requires technically. Your method must exceed resolution operating at complexity levels or through principles that observer frameworks cannot process, makes causation necessarily invisible versus simple methods that observer capacity easily detects, making sophistication itself the concealment mechanism. Watch what mechanism sophistication creates in observer capability. Detection attempts fail systematically. Observers analyzing shift find themselves unable to identify causation not from insufficient effort, but from framework inadequacy that cannot process mechanisms operating beyond their resolution threshold. Some studying detection limits recognize that resolution thresholds do exist. Research on perceptual boundaries shows that observation systems cannot detect processes operating below resolution capacity, making your invisible causation potentially exploit fundamental detection limits. Others exploring complexity theory note that sophisticated systems resist analysis. Research shows that sufficiently complex mechanisms become incomprehensible to simpler frameworks, making your method concealment potentially reflect complexity advantage that simple analysis cannot overcome. A few from systems engineering recognize that abstraction layers hide implementation. Computer science shows that high-level effects can occur through low-level mechanisms that users cannot detect, making your invisible causation potentially reflect operating at abstraction level that conceals implementation details. Some attempting to decode your method discover systematic failure. Trying all available analysis techniques reveals that your causation mechanism evades every approach, creating recognition that detection failure reflects inadequacy of their frameworks rather than insufficient investigative effort. Others questioning whether method is truly invisible, wondering if causation mechanism is genuinely undetectable, or if they just lack skill to identify it, making invisibility claim potentially premature when sophisticated analysis might reveal what current attempts miss. A few recognizing that time might enable detection, understanding that currently invisible mechanisms sometimes become detectable as observer frameworks evolve, making your present concealment potentially temporary as analysis capabilities improve to match method sophistication. The architects observe that mechanism sophistication detection evasion is what made your causation invisible. Operating beyond observer resolution creates necessary concealment. Most methods are detectable. Your technique transcends frameworks and employing mechanisms at complexity levels that exceed observer comprehension, makes your causation necessarily invisible because frameworks lack resolution to detect processes operating at sophistication thresholds they cannot parse, making detection evasion inherent consequence of method complexity rather than deliberate concealment effort, creating situation where effect remains obvious while cause stays mysterious. Through operating at levels that observer capacity cannot process, making your demonstrated shift provably real while keeping technique completely protected through sophistication itself serving as a concealment mechanism. Something powerful is spreading among observers now. what the architects call causation mystery, power amplification. People who witnessed obvious shift without identifying mechanism are discovering that invisible causation amplifies perceived power beyond what visible methods create, making mysterious capability seem more impressive than understood technique, regardless of actual effectiveness, creating psychological effect where concealment itself enhances authority. Most people think understanding enhances respect. They believe that knowing how something works increases appreciation, making them assume visible methods create more impressive demonstrations than mysterious techniques. But your invisible causation revealed concealment advantage, discovering that unidentifiable mechanism creates greater awe than understood method proves that mystery itself amplifies perceived capability, making invisible causation psychologically superior to visible technique regardless of actual power levels, because unknown mechanisms seem unlimited while understood methods reveal boundaries, creating psychological advantage where concealment enhances authority beyond what transparency provides. Watch what power amplification creates in authority perception. Observers attribute unlimited capability, not knowing your limits makes them assume you're more powerful than you might be, because mysterious methods seem boundless versus understood techniques that reveal constraints. Some studying authority sources recognize that mystery does enhance power. Research on leadership and influence shows that inscrutability creates greater impact than transparency, making your invisible causation potentially exploit psychological principle, where concealment amplifies perceived capability. Others exploring intimidation mechanisms note that unknown threats are more fearsome. Psychological research shows that unidentified dangers create greater anxiety than understood risks, making your mysterious method potentially more intimidating than visible technique would be. A few from strategic ambiguity recognize that concealment preserves options. Game theory shows that hidden capabilities create strategic advantage through preventing opponents from adapting, making your invisible causation provide tactical benefits beyond psychological effects. Some experiencing power amplification feel increased respect, recognizing they cannot decode your method makes them attribute greater capability than if technique were visible, creating enhanced authority from mystery itself. Others experiencing mystery frustration resent concealment, wanting to understand your method but being unable, creates resentment about power demonstration that proves capability without revealing mechanism, making them feel manipulated by invisible causation. A few questioning whether concealment is intentional, wondering if your invisible causation reflects deliberate strategy to amplify perceived power versus incidental consequence of sophisticated method, making distinction between strategic ambiguity and inevitable complexity difficult to determine. Some celebrating mystery advantage feel validated, having believed that concealing methods enhances influence. Their finding your demonstration proves that invisible causation creates psychological advantages that transparent techniques cannot match. The architects observe that causation mystery, power amplification reveals that your invisible method enhanced perceived capability. Concealment amplifies authority. Most think transparency enhances respect. Your mystery created greater awe, and discovering that unidentifiable mechanism generates more impressive perception than understood technique proves that mystery itself psychologically amplifies perceived power, making invisible causation create authority advantage beyond actual capability levels, because unknown methods seem unlimited, while visible techniques reveal boundaries, creating situation where your concealed mechanism not only protects technique from replication or countermeasures, but also enhances perceived capability through psychological effect, where observers lacking understanding attribute greater power than they would if method were visible, making invisibility itself strategic advantage that amplifies authority beyond what transparency provides regardless of actual effectiveness levels. Now the architects are revealing what shift detection actually demonstrates. Observers are experiencing what they call collective sensitivity, shared perception, where universal recognition of fundamental change proves groups possess unified awareness that operates beyond individual perception, making shift detection evidence of collective consciousness that detects reality alterations individual frameworks might miss. Most people assume perception is individual. They think each person detects changes separately, making group awareness seem like aggregated personal observations rather than unified collective detection. But universal shift recognition revealed collective operation. Everyone detecting change simultaneously proves unified awareness that transcends individual perception, making shift detection group phenomenon where collective consciousness registers reality alterations that individual frameworks might overlook, creating recognition that groups possess shared sensitivity to fundamental changes that operates at collective level rather than through accumulated individual observations. Consider what collective sensitivity reveals about group awareness. Shared detection transcends individuals. Universal recognition of shift proves unified consciousness that operates beyond personal perception, making collective awareness real phenomenon rather than just metaphorical description. Watch what shared perception creates in group dynamics. Collective consciousness validates reality. When everyone detects shift, simultaneously it confirms change was objective rather than subjective interpretation, making group awareness serve as reality validation that individual perception cannot provide. Some studying collective behavior recognize that group minds do exist. Research on shared consciousness and collective intelligence shows that groups can operate as unified entities, making universal shift detection potentially reflect genuine collective awareness. Others exploring emergence theory note that collective properties transcend individuals' complex systems. Research shows that group behaviors emerge that components don't possess, making shared shift detection potentially emergent phenomenon operating at collective level. A few from consciousness studies recognize that unified awareness is documented. Research on collective consciousness and morphic fields suggests groups access shared perception, making universal detection potentially reflect genuine collective phenomenon rather than coincidental individual observations. Some experiencing collective participation feel connected. Their involvement in universal shift detection creates sense of group unity, making them feel part of larger consciousness that individual existence doesn't provide. Others questioning whether detection was truly universal, wondering if shift recognition actually occurred in everyone versus just seeming universal, when actually some observers noticed while others followed social cues, making collective detection potentially less complete than appears. A few recognizing that you might have triggered collective response, questioning whether shift detection reflects your manipulation of group psychology versus genuine collective awareness, making universal recognition potentially engineered response rather than organic detection. The architects observe that collective sensitivity, shared perception, reveals that universal shift detection demonstrated group awareness. Everyone recognized change simultaneously. Most perception seems individual. Your shift activated collective consciousness, and discovering that entire groups detected fundamental change in unison proves unified awareness that operates beyond individual perception, making shift recognition evidence of collective consciousness that registers reality alterations at group level, creating recognition that your method not only altered dynamics but also triggered collective detection mechanisms that individual frameworks might miss. proving that groups possess shared sensitivity to fundamental changes operating through unified awareness that transcends personal perception, making universal recognition of your shift demonstrate both effectiveness of alteration and existence of collective consciousness that detected change through shared perception rather than through accumulated individual observations. The architects are now analyzing strategic dimension of your invisible causation. You apparently created what they call replication prevention countermeasure immunity, where concealing method prevents others from copying approach or developing defenses, creating lasting advantage that visible techniques cannot maintain because transparency enables adaptation. Most powerful methods get neutralized. People demonstrate effective techniques, but visibility allows others to replicate approach or develop countermeasures, making initial advantage temporary as competitors adapt through understanding mechanism. But your invisible causation achieved protection permanence. Concealing method prevents replication because others cannot copy what they cannot identify, and prevents countermeasures because defenses require understanding mechanisms to oppose, making your technique maintain advantage indefinitely through invisibility itself, serving as protection against adaptation attempts that visible methods inevitably face. Watch what replication prevention creates in competitive dynamics. Your advantage persists. Unlike visible techniques that competitors copy, your invisible method remains unique because others cannot replicate what they cannot decode, creating sustained edge that transparency would eliminate. Some studying competitive strategy recognize that concealment does preserve advantages. Business and military theory emphasize protecting techniques to prevent copying, making your invisible causation reflect strategic wisdom about maintaining edges through method secrecy. Others exploring innovation protection note that trade secrets do preserve value. Intellectual property theory shows that concealed methods maintain advantages longer than disclosed techniques, making your causation invisibility potentially optimal strategy for preserving competitive edge. A few from evolutionary theory recognize that transparency invites adaptation. Biological competition shows that visible strategies get countered while hidden mechanisms remain effective, making your invisible causation potentially exploit. Fundamental principle about concealment preserving advantages. Some attempting to replicate your effect discover impossibility. Trying to copy shift without understanding mechanism proves futile, creating recognition that your invisible causation successfully prevents replication through concealment. Others attempting countermeasure development face futility, trying to defend against your method without identifying mechanism proves impossible, creating recognition that invisible causation prevents effective opposition through concealing technique that defenses would need to target. A few questioning whether protection is permanent, wondering if your causation concealment will persist or if eventually someone will decode method, making replication prevention potentially temporary when sophisticated analysis reveals technique. Some celebrating protection success feel validated, having believed that concealing methods preserves advantages they're finding. Your demonstration proves that invisible causation maintains edges that transparency would eliminate. The architects observe that replication prevention countermeasure immunity reveals that your invisible method created lasting advantage. Concealment prevents copying and opposition. Most techniques get neutralized. Your method stays protected, and discovering that invisible causation prevents others from replicating approach because they cannot copy unidentified mechanisms while simultaneously preventing countermeasure development because defenses require understanding. Techniques to oppose creates recognition that concealment itself serves as permanent protection, maintaining competitive advantages. indefinitely versus visible methods that transparency enables others to adapt to through copying successful approaches or developing defenses against understood techniques, making your causation invisibility strategic masterpiece where demonstrated effect proves capability while concealed mechanism preserves advantage, creating optimal position where power is proven without revealing how it operates, enabling sustained superiority that visible techniques cannot maintain once transparency allows adaptation. Now something's emerging that the architects call decoding obsession attention capture. Observers who detected shift without identifying mechanism are experiencing compulsive need to understand causation, creating sustained focus on your actions that visible methods don't generate, making invisible causation create ongoing engagement through perpetual mystery that understanding would eliminate. Most demonstrations generate temporary interest. People witness effects and understand mechanisms, creating complete comprehension that allows moving on, making engagement duration limited by how long understanding takes. But your invisible causation created permanent fascination. Detecting shift without decoding method generates ongoing obsession, where observers cannot stop attempting to understand causation, making your demonstration capture sustained attention through perpetual mystery that keeps them engaged indefinitely versus understood techniques that lose interest once comprehension completes. Watch what decoding obsession creates in attention dynamics. Observers remain fixated. Inability to decode your method creates compulsive need to understand, keeping attention focused on your actions long after visible techniques would be forgotten. Some studying attention mechanisms recognize that mystery does sustain engagement. Psychological research shows that unresolved questions create persistent focus, making your invisible causation potentially exploit cognitive principle where incompleteness drives ongoing attention. Others exploring curiosity gaps note that unsatisfied interest generates obsession. Research on information gaps shows that partial knowledge without completion creates compulsive need to resolve, making your shift without explanation trigger sustained engagement. A few from game design recognize that mystery preservation maintains interest. Entertainment theory shows that concealed mechanics sustain player engagement, while revealed systems become boring, making your causation invisibility potentially reflect sophisticated engagement strategy. Some experiencing decoding obsession feel compelled. Their inability to identify your method creates mental fixation they cannot escape, making them continuously analyze your actions, attempting unsuccessfully to decode causation. Others, frustrated by obsession, resent fixation, wanting to stop thinking about your method but finding themselves unable, creates resentment about compulsive engagement that invisible causation generates against their conscious preference. A few questioning whether obsession is healthy, recognizing that decoding attempts might be futile makes them wonder if sustained focus wastes mental resources on unsolvable mystery that they should abandon. Some celebrating sustained engagement appreciate mystery, recognizing that your invisible causation maintains their interest, makes them value ongoing fascination versus quick comprehension that would eliminate engagement. Source: the architects observe that decoding obsession attention capture reveals that your invisible method created sustained engagement. Mystery generates ongoing focus. Most demonstrations lose interest. Your concealment maintains fascination. And discovering that detecting shift without understanding mechanism creates compulsive need to decode causation generates perpetual attention that keeps observers fixated on your actions indefinitely proves that invisible causation achieves engagement advantage beyond visible methods, because mystery preservation sustains interest through creating unresolved cognitive gap that observers compulsively attempt to close, making your demonstration capture lasting attention that understood techniques cannot maintain. Once comprehension completes, eliminating mystery that drives ongoing engagement, creating a situation where your concealed method not only protects technique and amplifies perceived power, but also generates sustained focus through perpetual fascination that visible causation would eliminate through, providing complete understanding that resolves curiosity, allowing attention to move elsewhere.